Every haunting has a beginning and an end, but in this place, one becomes the other. Step closer, the lantern's glow will guide you. What you are about to hear are true stories of hauntings all over the world. Welcome to Help, I'm Haunted. Hello there, my darlings. Welcome, welcome. We welcome you. Hello. Me, I think I dated him. No. Our little friends, we welcome you. Happy Thursday. Welcome to Help, I'm Haunted. I think we've just needed a break where we can not be scared by the world. Did you ever think about that? I want to welcome our mods and thank our mods for being here. Sweet Terry is not feeling well today, so we're going to wish her and give her good vibes. Thank you, my darling. Thank you, thank you. Here we go. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here, and I want to thank you for True Oracle being here as well. Pikeville, Kentucky. I've been to Pikeville, Kentucky. So, pardon my voice a little bit, okay? It's still healing. So there we are, my darlings. All is well. Now tonight, a couple of things. I'm going to play the rerun that ran last September of 2025. And it's like the season hit of Help, I'm Haunted. And it turned out so good and so funny that I can't wait to show it to you. Now, in that episode, pardon me, I was doing a giveaway. So if you see it, it's no longer, so don't feel like you have to put anything in the chat, okay? So good vibes to everybody. All right, but I got to show you something. You are going to adore this. Now, this is on the True Oracle side, and you want to race over there to the shop, and I'll tell you why. This, and I just hit the microphone, I'm sorry. This is the newest tumbler. I read cards for a zombie. This is so cute, up front and personal. Oh my heck. I'm going to be carrying this a lot. I've got a lot of tumblers, so we never ran out of tumblers around here. But I just thought, now this is like, well, it's not shimmering. It looks that way, but I love it. You see, look at this guy. He needs some dental help. But I got to tell you, this is so cute. I love it. And I wanted to just share that with you. It is in the merchandise shop at True Oracle. So there you go. I need a little bit of water, pardon me. I hope everybody is well. I've been thinking, and I'm just gonna say a few little things. Been thinking about the Savannah Guthrie case and this one ransom note that is Savannah Guthrie. That's right. I'm going to call it the Savannah Guthrie because now all attention is on her. Snarky, yes. So that one ransom note was addressed right to her. Why? 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 If that doesn't give you an idea that this person blames Savannah, or it's because of Savannah, or somebody is too dumb to say the family of Nancy Guthrie, then, but that's the thing. Now, the other thing is, she was all over the news today about calling the Pima County sheriffs on the YouTubers that was out there at her house. You know what? I wouldn't brag about that. Would you? We wouldn't brag about. I wouldn't brag about that. And here's the thing. Come a week from today, July 2nd, we're going to find out. We may find out, but there's some little things here that I'm just not liking. We're going to talk about it Saturday night because I'm going to be back with the energy readers again, and we're going to deep dive in this because now it's ticking me off. If you haven't noticed, it's just ticking me off. And I don't know why I feel that way, but I do. You know, like I said, character and integrity mean a lot to me. Say thank you. Say thank you to these people that have been taking their time on their dime, out doing the Lord's work, trying to find her. And they're not doing it for the money. They're doing it to find Nancy. That's what the bottom line is. So there we are. There we are. I want to share something with you. Thank you, my darlings. I want to share something with you. And did you ever have one of those epiphany moments? One of these epiphanies that it's like this boing, light bulb goes off. About 100 years ago, when I was living in Ohio, and I was a young girl, and I went to one of these women's council things. It was in Columbus, Ohio, where they had a guest speaker. The guest speaker was a big advertising exec, and she was kind of retired, but she was also from Ohio. Now, I know many of you have heard about I Love New York. I can't believe I ate the whole thing. Many of those slogans that are still with us today. The lady's name was Mary Wells Lawrence. I went to one of her little conference get-togethers for Women's Day. Did not know who she was until I saw a documentary on her. And I'll tell you what, I'm not sponsored. This book is unbelievable. She was the first female CEO, basically, of her own advertising agency. This is something that you want to read, because I always want to learn and I always want to read. And the reality is, I thought, oh my gosh. But, anyway. So there we are, my darlings. Here we are. All right, so we're going to turn our attention now from the crime cases to the ghost cases. Now, I've got to just give you a little disclosure. This photograph that you're seeing is real. He is not. This guy is not. But this is real. This is the location of where I was. Frightening. So, all right, so we're all going to come down. And we're not going to be talking about cases right now. We're going to go into Help, I'm Haunted. So we're going to start right almost at the beginning, my darlings. And then I got a few little things to show you. And don't forget to stay after. And I'm going to be commenting on this because I'm going to tell you what happened after we left and 2 days later. Here we go, my darlings. Get ready. You know this lady. I do too. Here we are. Story. It's kind of long. It is. and we're going to get through it. But we'll see this guy right here. Hold on, my darlings. I got to mute just for a second. Okay, I'm back. All right. Hello, welcome, welcome. This is, you know what? I'm going to put the trigger warning up on this one.
Yes.
Give me a sec.
Thank you, Zelda.
Little trigger warning, because sometimes these things can get
a little hairy.
And sometimes they're unexplainable. Okay. 5 of us a few years ago, and I don't know, my darlings, the background, this is a real photograph. This here. This guy, or I don't know where he is, this monster-looking fellow, I added. You'll understand why. The raven, I added. You'll understand why.
Okay, I'm going to time you out right here. In between this, I'm going to show you a little something that I made. So the background is real. The images are not, if that makes sense. Okay, take it away, Zell.
But if you take a look at the background, now I don't know if it's mirror or not. Okay, somebody tell me. Put a 1 in the chat if I am pointing to the guy. Put a 1 in the chat so I know what direction to point.
You
put a 1. I don't think I am.
It is, Zelda.
Keep put a 1 in the chat if I'm pointing to the guy. Do you see me pointing to the guy?
Now y'all don't have to do that.
This guy right here, put a 1 in the chat. Okay, good, good, good. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, I just want to make sure I know what I'm talking about.
This is pre-recorded, my darlings. You don't have to do
which sometimes we don't know.
This is pre-recorded.
Over here, you may have to really focus in. There is a cross. This is in the state of Tennessee, and this is in an area where nobody really knows, and nobody really goes back there, and you're not really supposed to go back there. But yeah, you can see this cross. The interstate runs right around in here. So you can see this graveyard and the little statues. So this is a real photograph. He is fake. I added him, and he is fake, but I added him too. You're going to see. So, this is usual for Tennessee, where I've been before. They always stick these graveyards up and around, and the crosses along the interstate. Yeah, especially when you get closer to Nashville, and from Crossville and Nashville on up and around there. All right, my darlings. Here we go. There were 5 of us. We decided to visit this cemetery. This cemetery is old, as you can see. Some of the stones date back to the 1700s. There were reports of people getting lost for hours in this cemetery. It's not that big, but you can see there's steps in this graveyard. Pardon me, in this graveyard. There are steps all around, and there are places to hide. There are broken mausoleums, like you can see on this side. This is a picture that I actually took because there was so much going on. I just didn't know. It's huge. This is huge. But there's a lot of trees around on this side. There are a lot of trees, and it's like some like this, not mountainous, but hilly. And it just seems like it goes in waves. And most of the graveyards, cemeteries in Tennessee go in waves. They sell up lots, they bury people. Then they decide they want to sell more lots, they bury people. So they're in sections, they go by years. I think many other places are like that too, but this one especially. So let me get a drink, my darling. And shout out to the Mid Tennessee Paranormal Group. I do watch it on the Talkie Tick. And by the way, if you watch the Talkie Tick, it is saved. TikTok has been put into the hands of U.S. investors, so it's not going anywhere. Okay, no, I'm going to stop it here because I do want to comment. A lot of cemeteries in Tennessee do have the steps because they're on hills. They're not on mountains, but they're on hills. And I'm from Ohio. This is odd until you're down there and it's kind of like, okay, you get used to it. But anyway, I wanted to comment on that. Thank you so much. Let's continue. All right. So we decided to go up here, and this is taken just as the sun was starting to come down, just when the sun is starting to set. I wanted to get a lay of the land, and I always go first to do some type of evaluation, to watch, to see. And especially, you don't know in the hills of Tennessee, you can step on something and be gone just like that, because there are so many cavernous caves, holes, things, crazy. So I wanted to make sure that there was a path. Now, many times what I'll do is if there's dead grass or something, I may pull up a dead grass and lay it across the steps, so I know I've been there before. Because when it gets dark, my darlings, wow. And it's not like, it's like pitch black dark. So 5 of us, 2 men, 2 ladies. 3 men, 2 ladies, sorry. Hello, remedial math course. So we come here, I do my grounding, lay of the land. I've got my iron. I've got all kinds of things. Don't wear earrings. And by the way, thank you again to who sent me the little ghosty earrings, because they're adorable. And so as I went on, and the other lady kind of hung with me. She's not experienced. She's learning. That's fine. They were with a group. And so I would go out with them. I'm very careful where I step, because, the graves most always face east. So if you ever get lost and you end up in a graveyard, the lay of the land, because this is east. Okay? So now we're walking around, and you have to also be careful, because there are black bears in the state of Tennessee. There can be panthers. There can be bobcats. There are wild animals. There are snakes, cottonmouth. Yeah, those are dangerous, and they chase you. All kinds of things. So I always wear my cowboy boots, only because I wear the ones that are higher up in case something is, whatever. So we're walking through there, and it was just a little darker than what it is right now. And this yell was no animal. It was a scream. It was loud. It wasn't a growl. We just all stood still and we walked around, because the one thing you want to do is when you're out these places, you want to be aware, because as I always say, I'm more concerned about the human realm than I am the paranormal. So just a minute, something just banged behind me. Did you hear that? And that's not a cat. Hello, whatever you are. So we hear this awful scream, this awful yell. And I mean, it wasn't just a right? It was like, what? I mean, it was like a whoa thing. And it was loud. So we stood there because, of course, we want to see, is this a call of the wild? Is something set loose? Is there a person there? Is this some, you don't know if it's a gag. You don't know any of these things. So copperheads, absolutely. Copperheads, cottonmouths, absolutely. So, and I'm answering Martha. She put in about the snakes. So we stood there. And literally things got quiet, except for this guy. He lands on top of and he looked like a raven. He did not look like a crow. And there's a big difference. You can tell a raven by their throat, mainly, and by their calls. A raven is a type thing, and a blackbird is more of a caw thing, right? So yes, now I'm going into, so he's sitting up here doing that caw thing that they do, and for a raven to do that, that's like, it's time for you to be aware. And he's calling his buddies. It's time for him to be aware, but he was always alone. And he would follow. So if we would go up this hill, he would make sure that he was like right here. He would follow. He would stay close to us, but not close enough to where we could see where he is. Keeps getting darker. We have flashlights. We have cameras. Some of the guys have the recorders, and I have a Polaroid camera. Which I love, by the way, on going on paranormal investigations. You gotta have a Polaroid.
And they're expensive.
All of a sudden, one of the men, his name is Mike. We called him Mick. Don't ask me why. Mick looks at us and says, "We have company." Now, just a little time out. If you go out on an investigation with me, as a rule of thumb, I always say when we go there, do not mention each other's names. Like, don't yell across the cemetery, "Hey, Zelda," or "Hey, Mick," or "Hey, Betty," or you don't use everybody else's name. Why? Because sometimes it's dangerous. If somebody else is there, you don't want them to know who you are. And secondly, if you're talking to a real entity, they'll say your name without you having to say anything. So he says, "We've got company." So we're all kind of looking around, and we see this dark figure. Now, we all looked, you could tell we had flesh. You could tell that everything, because I always wear the black anyway, but everybody else was. But you could tell that we were human.
And we just kind of stood still.
Maybe.
There was a guy that was walking, and he was walking way up in here, and he was walking around just like this, head to the side and walking very slowly, very zombie-esque. And so we're making hand signals to each other, doing the, be careful, watch out, thank you, I'm here, don't, those things. Now it's getting really dark. You can't see hand signals anyway. So now we've got the buddy system. But now in the darkness, without flashlights, we can see a guy walking around. He had eyes just like this, and you could see them. They weren't normal eyes. They were just sunken nothing eyes. We decided not to put our flashlight on because doing that kind of thing will inflame something, and you just don't want to do it. Think about the old B movies, Frankenstein and all this, and welcome Petey to the stage. And hello, ow. Okay, so now we're all I'm getting scared. I want you to know at this point, I'm getting scared because you don't know if somebody's playing around or if they're in costume or what they're doing. And you don't know if they are armed. You know what I mean? You don't know what that's all about. So we gravitate closer to each other. This dude is like, it's almost as though he sees us, but he's not paying attention. He's walking up and around here. Then he goes back over here. And of course, my thoughts, the one movie that scared the absolute Scheissele out of me, Night of the Living Dead, hello, because it looked like that. And I'm thinking, okay. The one thing we didn't want to do was make any type of quick movement. You don't do any of that. You're always very careful, always respectful. And for me, you're in a graveyard anyway. It's just for me a tradition. You're just respectful. But some of these gravestones, and this is why I took a picture of this. Do you see the markings on this? There were some weird markings on these gravestones. So I just kind of thought, okay, something is here. And one of the other men were supposed to do the research because before we go out anywhere, and if I am invited by a group, I hate to say this, that sounds a little on the snotty side, But I expect if a group invites me, I expect that group to have their homework done, meaning you make sure you get all your history, your genealogy, your folklore, you talk to people, you find out what's going on, and if you need to, if you're going out to a graveyard or anything else, you call the sheriff's department and you say, look, we're going out on a paranormal investigation. We're not vandalizing. Here, this is my idea, and hello, my ID, and it is, I'm responsible for the group. We're not armed, blah, 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 blah. And they're very grateful when you do that because you don't want to have a sheriff's officer come up and startle you and then have, high noon happening, right? So you make sure you do all your homework. What evidently everybody else thought the everyone was going to be doing it and nobody really did know to do anything. And I'm sitting here thinking, oh, this is great. And they're not that experienced. And you know what? I get it. I made huge mistakes. And I've told you about those a few weeks ago. The haunted house with the portal, all that other. You just go out. You're young. You just want to do this. Hello. Well, now I'm thinking, oh, heck, we better get out of here. So we're all standing there talking. And I'm sorry, this one is annoyed.
I was just going to say that Petey keeps hitting the microphone. So sorry about that. If you're hearing that noise, ain't nothing I can do about it.
Smacking his tail and he's hitting the mic. So if you hear that, my apologies. I'm trying to hold it. But look at this. Look, I don't know if you can see it, but his tail is just being a little turd. He's mad because I won't let him kiss me there. Hello. There you go. So see. All right. So we're all standing in this group. We all kind of have our backs to each other. We're looking around, making sure that we keep an eye on this guy. He's roaming all around. And we wouldn't see him for a few minutes, and then all of a sudden he would appear again. We're getting ready to leave. We turn around to talk, and the girl is gone. She's gone. She was there. She's gone. Where is she? And we're looking at each other, and the one thing we don't want to start doing is yelling for her. Because if this thing didn't see us, we don't want to draw attention and have it coming, because could we defend ourselves? No. And throwing a rock at this thing probably would not suffice. So now on top of this guy, and we've got little Kaka up here. Well, that's not a good name for him, is it? Little Raven boy. A little Raven boy up here going around, clucking the whole time. Now we've got somebody who's lost. And to me, on a paranormal investigation like that, and I've been through it, when somebody goes missing, it is scary and creepy. So they're all kind of looking at me like, what do we do? What do we do? And I'm thinking, oh, shoot, right? And I'm saying a couple of words probably that I shouldn't have said. And I told one of them, go down the hill, because we were up and around here. You had to go down the hill. And remember, I put the grass. I said, follow the grass. So I put the dead grass, just like this thing right here. I would pluck it up and lay it across these steps, so we knew that would be the way to go. I said, follow the grass. You go down the hill. You see if there are any other cars here. We will be okay. We're going to make our way down there, but I'm not leaving this spot because that's where she moved from. You're going to have to call the sheriff's office and tell them that we have somebody missing. And you need to go quickly and try not to make a sound. We did have cell phones back then, so that was a, hello. So he goes down the hill. He's very good at that. And you can tell, all of us are filled with anxiety, wondering where this lady is. I call her a girl because to me, everybody's younger than I am. And so everybody is a girl, everybody. You know what I'm saying? I had to be at least in her late 30s, had a family. So, you're thinking, oh, heck. In the meantime, the guys are kind of looking around because I told them, I said, you need to look. Pardon me. I said, you need to look and see if any of these steps are weak. You need to gently push on the gravestones. You need to see if anything is out of place. Could she have fallen in somewhere? Could she have gone somewhere? And we're whispering. All of a sudden, we turn around, and this guy, like if I'm right here, this is how close he was to me. I froze. Not so much in fear, maybe, but it was, oh gosh, I cannot run this thing. I wouldn't try, because look at all the obstacles that you've got. You can get hurt. If you start running in graveyards and cemeteries and everything else, look out, you're going to get hurt. And that's happened before. I've had scraped leg, even walking through at night. You can get scraped legs, scraped knees, scraped ankles. You can step on a gravestone that's old and not really there anymore, and you can turn your ankle. I mean, just stuff. And all of a sudden, this bird comes and sits there, and he starts clucking. He starts clucking again. And this wee little bird, out of nowhere, I'm not kidding, he was wee little, comes and swoops this thing. Now, I'm not kidding. It just came and went whoosh, right like this. And it turned its attention toward that bird, and that thing turned around. I'm not kidding. I have chills telling you this. It flipped me out. I'm standing there watching because I'm thinking, I can't keep my eye off this dude now until something happens. In the meantime, the other man comes up and says, I called the sheriff, and they said they're about 45 minutes out. Okay, we're here for at least 45 minutes. Okay. So I looked at this raven, and I don't even know what I had in my pocket. Something in my pocket. And I held them out, and I said, these are yours. These are yours. And I put him down. I didn't want him to come to me. I put him down, and he knew. He went over to the step, and then he hopped over and he ate those, and that was it. It was like he was around. And ravens do that. They're intelligent. They're very smart. So he's cucking. He's doing this little caw-caw thing, cucking, clucking, blah, blah, blah. So we're all walking around.
Now, I'm going to demonstrate something for you that I made today. This is kind of a reenactment. The guy is not real, but this is exactly how it was. Took me forever to make it, but I'm going to add this to you right here. You see how he was? And there goes the raven. And he would dip down and turn that thing away. And that's why, and you're going to hear later in the story, and I'm going to play it again. You're going to hear later in the story why. But that gives you a little demonstration of how it was. And that is how he walked too. Wild. Okay, here we go. Zelda's back.
I said, look, I'm going to stay right here by this gravestone right here. And I want you to take 10 steps this way, 10 steps this way. We're calculating it so nobody gets lost. We have flashlights, but we don't want to turn them on because we don't want this. And seriously, we didn't know if he had any buddies because we kept seeing it going up through and around here. And then it would go over here toward the woods, and then it would come back again. So I said, I'm going to stay here because I'm going to keep my eye on that thing because it's not going to come up on me again. That's scary. I'm going to tell you, that startled me. That startled me.
It did.
Having that come this close. Hello. And the weird thing is that he would walk up and down these steps. He knew this thing, knew this cemetery like the back of his scrawny hand, because he didn't have any problem navigating these steps. He didn't have any light. He didn't have anything. I don't even know if he had any eyes. He didn't have anything. He was just going up and down these steps, walking around. It was the most bizarre thing that I've ever seen. And seriously, I thought it was a gag. I really did. And I was a little concerned that maybe these people had told somebody that we were going out and they did this on purpose. So it would be, because those things happen. You get set up and then it's a good gag and you just don't know what to do. So I'm standing there. I can hear these guys whispering, 1, 2, counting their steps off, going in 3 different directions. So one guy went up this way, one this way, and then one that direction toward this broken down mausoleum. I'm standing there. He was walking. He wasn't floating. He was literally walking. You could hear him going up and down steps. You could hear this grass crunchy, crunchy underneath his whatever he had. Crunchy. So we're waiting. And I'm thinking, daggone, what's taking those cops so long? You get to that point where you're thinking, holy mackerel. And I was not about to leave without this young lady because, totally uncool, but certainly we just don't know if she's safe or not. We're standing there, and this guy is walking up through here. All of a sudden, I felt this hand on my arm. Now, I want you to know that embarrassed me. It embarrasses me to tell you, but I can tell you this. Grabbing my arm like that, I left out a scream of the banshee. Seriously, a scream of a banshee. Because I was all ramped up anyway. I was more worried about her than this. But I would like, oh my God. And it was this girl. And I said, oh my God, where did you come from? And she said, where did you guys go? I said, what do you mean, where did we go? We've been here the whole time. We've called the sheriff's office. And she said, you guys just disappeared. I've stayed right here. I said, have you heard us talking? Have you? She said, no. I've been right here. I said, you've not been right here. I've walked around this tombstone 20 times looking for you. And she said, almost, Mama J's. Maybe now would be a thing. And I said, oh my God. For those of you who want to know, Mama J said, I would have wet myself. Yeah, I didn't even have time to think of it. I was so freaked out. I was freaked out by this guy and about how she grabbed my arm, and a cry of the banshees did not, it was like, wow. It was not like a B movie scream, that beautiful shrill. It was like, wow. It was an ugly scream. I am embarrassed. But hey, somebody's got to do it. Where were you? And she goes, I'm right here. So we went through this. I'm right here. So I'm looking at these guys putting a flashlight up to and pointing to her. And they're like, and they were mad. They seriously were mad. And I can understand that because they thought that she was pulling a joke to scare us. They were so mad. And she was the fiance of one of the guys. And he was, and I said, look, hello. Not the time nor the place. I don't want to get into this. Now we've got to wait on the sheriff, because one thing we don't want to do is get mad, have a sheriff's office mad at us thinking that we're prank calling them. We waited and we waited. Finally, down here on one of these roads, we saw this Mayberry RFD light, red light going. No siren, no nothing. Coming up. Hey, what are y'all doing? I heard you got somebody lost up here. That's exactly what he said. one of the guys said, yes, sir, I'm the one that called. We thought our teammate was lost, and we were told it would take 45 minutes to come out. And we're so sorry that we called you. It must have been a mistake. It must have been, because didn't want to be in trouble and make that look like, hello. And all of a sudden he says, well, this ain't no mistake. I said, what? And I said, can I ask you a question, sir? Yeah, you can ask me whatever you want. And he's out of the car now. Now, it's his time to shine. He's out of the car. He's got this little brown uniform on. He's got this little hat, got a little brown uniform. He wasn't any bigger than a minute. And I'm thinking, oh, here we are. Hello. And I said, sir, we keep seeing this person walking around. They're dressed all in black. And he says, oh, yeah, we know who he is. Okay. I said, who is he? Well, ma'am. And then after 25 minutes of, he says, we have other people that come up here and seen him before. And when people come out here, this guy just roams. We know who he is, but we ain't got no idea of who he is. And me being the little sarcastic so-and-so that I am, I said, sir, we're not tourists. We live here. Because, I have to tell you this, when you go into some of the tourist places in the great volunteer state of Tennessee, because I am Midwestern by birth and Southern by the grace of God, they put it on. They just really go for it. They do that. So he looked at me and goes, well, yes, ma'am. So I figured, okay, this is him. Okay. He and his 27 children, I'm sorry, but my mind is just going in that whole direction. And I said, well, sir, can you explain to me or to us, our friend here went missing? And he says, oh, yeah, let me come and show you. And he takes us right up here. He says, she went missing right around this place, didn't she? And this girl, and I'm just, at this point, I don't know what's scarier, this guy or this sheriff's accent. And this girl says, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I did. He said, well, that's where everybody else goes missing too. In fact, sometimes when you go missing right around here, you may end up coming out around the woods. Where did you? And then he's proud. Where did you come out from? Did you come out from here? Did you come out from the woods? Or where did you come out from? Sometimes they come out down from the mausoleum. By this time, I'm thinking, Holy Mother of all heavenly earth. And she says, no, sir. We're right. I came out right here. I was yelling and screaming, trying to figure out what is going on. Then I hear it. Have you ever heard of the Bell Witch? And I'm like, oh, here we go. This guy, wait a minute. Okay, here we go. And I said, yes, I've heard of the Bell Witch, sir. Because we were not close, but proximity. He says, well, it's said that blankety blank Bell Witch was up and around these here parts. And she did a few little things up and around here because there were people that were after her that, wanted to take care of her. So she put a few things they called curtains. Curtains? Yeah. they put up a few things that was called curtains. And if you stand in the right place, you just hide behind that curtain. Oh, here we are. So now it's turned from a paranormal investigation to a 3-ring circus. And I said, sir, come on. I'm hungry. I want a piece of peach pie and a coffee. Said, is this true? Or is this something? What do you know about this? He says, oh, that there guy that you see that's walking around here, the one that's dressed all in black, he's the one that she put out here to guard. He guards her. He guards the cemetery. He walks out here all the time. People get lost all the time. They call us, and then all of a sudden they appear again. And I said, let me guess. They got behind the curtains. Yes, ma'am. They got there behind them darn curtains. And that witch, she did that. I said, really? Okay. He said, well, she's buried down yonder. I said, wait a minute. That witch is buried in here? Well, she's not buried in here. This here is a Christian. What did he say? It wasn't a graveyard, wasn't cemetery. I'll think of it. This here's a Christian area, something like that. This here's Christian. She wasn't. They buried her down over here, down over the hill. I said, sir, can you take me there? You sure you're wanting to go? I said, do you have a sidearm with you? Yes, ma'am. And at this point he was huffing because he was so proud. He was just like leading the pack. I felt like we were going to see Scooby-Doo and the Mystery Machine pull up all of a sudden. So I said, sir, have you ever come close to this entity? He said, I seen him. I seen him walk up and around here, and I don't pay no attention to him because I don't want him coming near me. And I said, okay, that's smart. And I said, what about the raven? He says, oh, yeah, she put that there raven, and she keeps that raven here in this cemetery. That raven keeps this guy from going out from all here. So the bottom line is, sir, the raven keeps this guy from going outside of the graveyard. Is that what you're telling me? Yes, ma'am. Okay. I'm buying what you're selling. Okay. I'm buying what you're selling. Hey, look, it's a Friday night. Let's go for it. All righty. Well, here, let me do this. I have to call over to the station, tell him that I'm here, and tell him what I'm doing. So if anything happens to me, you understand, they got to call my wife. Yes, sir. Please take your time. So we go up these steps. And I said, there he is over there. He was over right around the ear. He says, yes, ma'am, we're just not going to look at him. I said, why is he here? Who is he protecting? What, don't you think that he would be walking around her grave instead of the Christian graves that are here? Well, ma'am, you'd think that he would be. But from what I heard, he's going to be walking this here hill until the day that the Lord comes back. Okay, let's go. Let's go. So he's got this big sheriff's department. Goodbye, darling. Got this big sheriff's department flashlight. You know, the ones that if you ever got boinked on, it would hurt. And it's one of the long black, Could have been Union County. So we go up over here, and there were some other stairs. So in the meantime, I'm holding on to this girl like there's no tomorrow, because I'm thinking, girl, you ain't going to get away from, you aren't going to be ducking behind any curtain again, because when I'm ready to go, I'm out of here. So she's hanging on to me too. It scared her. I'd be scared too if all of a sudden, because she was upset thinking that we just vanished and left her. Oh, how horrible. We go up, he takes us up and around here. Yeah, that's a mag light. That's right, Jerry. He goes up and around here. We go up behind here, up and around, down past the woods. And on the other side of this wooded area, it's steep. It's almost like a drop off. And I'm thinking, oh, here we go. I didn't come to hike. So we maneuver our ways down there. And there were 7 graves. Gravestones, markers. The markers didn't have names. They didn't have anything. But you could tell clearly they were markers. And we went down there, and I'm trying to take Polaroids. And they were coming out totally white, not developed, totally white. So I knew the energy is like, hello.
My darling, this was in the great volunteer state of Tennessee.
The other guys are trying to take pictures with their cell phones. We get down there, and this, officer, not so bright. I would call him not so bright, okay? Officer not so bright is what I called him. So Officer not so takes us around there, and he says, ma'am, don't get too close. I said, what do you mean don't? He said, you, ma'am, ouch, don't get too close. I'm going to tell you, we don't know what's buried here. And you don't want to take nothing home with you. I said, oh no, you're absolutely right. And I said, do you know who's buried here? He said, it ain't who, ma'am. It's what. And that right there gave me the chills more than anything of the whole night. The whole night was anxiety. I just wanted to get in my car and buzz off. But when he said that, it ain't who, it's what. I thought, oh, shoot. Now, it's not over. It ain't over. We're all standing around here looking, because here's the thing that most people forget in investigations. You got to keep looking up. You want to make sure, look, I did that, and poor Sammy looked up. She's mommy's chicken little. All right. You got to keep looking up. You've got to be in a position where you recognize your surroundings anytime you are in, because honey, that's when things can happen, when you do not look around you. And you got to look up, you got to look all around. All of the sudden, time out. I take it. There. All of a sudden, we heard the worst crashing, banging, carrying on. And it was this guy. It was this guy. came down over the hill and fell down into that ravine. Just fell. Ooh. And we're just all standing there. And this cop, Officer Notso, has his hand on his side arm. Like, I'm thinking, oh boy, I hope those bullets are silver, pal. We don't have a chance. So it's laying down. It fell on the ground. It's laying down. All of a sudden, it gets up. It just gets up and starts walking. Just starts walking. I don't know what in the heck. At this point, I'm thinking, where are we? I'm looking at Officer Notso. And I said, what do we do? Because it started coming to, he's making his way. Can't run, because look at him. Hello. Can't run. But he starts coming toward us. I didn't know what to do at this point. I didn't know what I should do. This girl who's with me starts screaming, which is, hello, okay, it's over at that point. I'm looking at her saying, stop screaming, stop that. These guys are like nervous. I'm looking at the cop and he's looking at this that's inching closer and closer. Hello, my darling. Look who's here watching. Hi, my darling. Hi. Welcome, and thanks for being here. You're getting in the scary stuff now. I love it. Thank you for coming. Now, I'm going to tell you something, my darlings, just for a brief moment. I'm doing great, honey, and I hope you are too. Thank you. Just for a brief moment, I'm standing there thinking, should I wipe out the back of my pants? What should I do? So I'm looking at this police officer, the sheriff officer, Officer Notso. And I said, what should we do? Because, you've got a sheriff's office there. You got a sheriff's officer there with you. So, he looks at me and says, ma'am. I'm thinking, here we go. Ma'am. He said, he's shaking his head.
Here we go, everybody.
He said, all I can tell you, run. That's exactly what he did. All I can tell you, run. He didn't have to tell me twice. I haven't moved that fast since 1978. And up over this, I don't even know what got under me, over me, around me. Baby, I was hitting it. I came up off of that ravine. I mean, when I was done, I had no nails. Just so you know, because I was digging in. Going up this ravine. Boom, 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 boom. Because I'm thinking, ma'am, that's right, ma'am, run. It wasn't run, it was run.
It's very true.
Oh my God. I come up off of here, and I'm not kidding. I don't know how I sprinted that long. I mean, this wasn't so many years ago. And I thought, no, I'm not going behind any curtain. I looked for all the areas that I marked, that I put, and I came down off those steps. In fact, this one here, I didn't even hit the steps. I stopped here and I just jumped, boom, down to the bottom, boom, running. Because I'm thinking, oh my. Came now, and these guys are behind. The guys are looking at me like, and I'm like, hey, you don't have to tell me. I might be in this arena, but I'm not stupid. I'm not going to stand there and say, oh no, by the great. No, if it's time to run, bloody all, run, run.
Run.
So we all make it. Here comes Officer Not So bringing up the rear. We get down to the bottom where our cars are. And that sheriff looked at me and says, ma'am, I would suggest that you don't come back here. I said, you don't have to you don't have to worry. So these people are acting now like nothing is going on. The three guys and this other young lady, they're coming over to me and they're like, well, do you want to get together? I said, do you just know what we did? And of course, I am just like soaked from running like a daggone crazy woman. And I said, no, I'm not going out again. Y'all didn't do your homework. Y'all didn't do your homework. You put us in harm's way. Somebody gets lost. You don't know the legend behind this place. We don't even know what that thing is. And it could be a real person. We don't know because I've never seen anything like this before. Where are you going, sister? I said, I've never seen anything like this before. And I won't go out with you again. What you've done is irresponsible. You could put people in harm's way. Let alone, we've got a sheriff's officer out here who, if he gets spooked, could start, it's the Wild West. No, forget it. I'm not going out again. Not going out again. So they left kind of in a huff. And the sheriff's office, Mr. Not So, is standing there with me. And I said, sir, do we need to make a report or anything? He says, nah. I said, so what really is this place? What is this? And he says, well, legend has it, it's the Bell Witch. And she conjured him up. But he was getting loose. So she made this raven go around and keep him in this graveyard. I said, they were supposed to have called you and told you we were coming out here. Oh, ma'am, nobody called. If they would have called the sheriff, he would have said, oh, no, don't y'all go out there. That's dangerous. Ain't nobody going out there in years. He said, this is the first time I've seen this. When me and my brothers came out, and then, we get into the family tree. When me and my brothers went out there years ago, we saw the same guy. I said, did anybody get caught in a curtain? Did anybody? No, ma'am. We's careful about that sort of thing. We were most interested in this mausoleum down here that got torn down. I said, well, what happened about that? Well, they had some shady characters be buried in that mausoleum. And before you know it, they told us that we all, the townspeople, had to stay away. They were going to tear that down. They were going to tear down this whole cemetery graveyard. And then somebody told us that they just wasn't going to do it. Cost the city too much money. Cost the county too much money. So they banned anybody coming here. I said, well, what happens to the people, the families? He says, ma'am, look at the gravestone. There ain't nobody alive to come and visit these people anymore. The last person that was buried here was in 1958. Well, who's the caretaker? Who takes care of this? Oh, there's somebody that volunteers to come out here every now and then. But as soon as they see old guy, they leave. I said, are you ever going to do anything about it? Is there a pastor that's going to come by and bless the... Nah, there ain't no need to. You just stay away. And the raven keeps him in. So Thank you, Aunt Bibi. So, my darlings, you know me. And I happened to be dating somebody in the law enforcement arena at that time. So I called him, and of course, he didn't have an accent like not so.
That is correct. And I want to show those of you coming in what that raven would do. And here we go. I'm going to add this. This is what the raven would do. He would keep that old boy. Look at him. Now I made this. This is not real. This is a depiction of what it was. The background is real, the cemetery, but the sky is not, and the raven is not, and the zombie is not real. I made that so I could show you what he was doing. So that's what the raven would do. There we go. Yeah. Now, hold on. Where's Zelda? Where in the world is Cartomancy? Oh, here we are. And I want to thank my darling Carrie for sending the Cash App gift. Thank you so much. That's such a blessing. I appreciate it. Now back to the story.
So I called him and I start telling him what's going on, and he's laughing. He said, so tell me now, you want to go somewhere and meet for a piece of pie and coffee? Well, yes, something like that, because I've got to tell you what's going on. And I'm a little freaked out, and I got to go home. He goes, no, that's fine. I'm off duty. Let's go. So we sit down in this all-nighter, and I begin to tell him. And he sat there and cried. He was in tears, laughing and how I was telling him what was going on. And I took this so seriously. And I said, why are you laughing? He said, the way you tell this and the way he said, I know this poor officer. He is the nicest man that you, and so generous and kind. And the way you talk in his accent is exactly how he talks. And when I was told him, it's like, it ain't what's buried here, ma'am, or Nate, who's buried here, ma'am. It's what. And he was howling in this place. I mean, the whole cafe was sitting there like mesmerized, trying to listen to us talk. He had his head like this, laughing so hard. Because, I mean, he knew he was very respectful of what I did, and I was very respectful of what he did, and, whatever. But I told him, I said, do you think there's I'm here to ask you this. Do you think there's any truth in this? And he said, years ago, I went on to a call very similar. And he said, all I can tell you is this. It was a bunch of kids. They went up there. Their parents called in because the kids were supposed to go out to this cemetery or graveyard, and they'd only been, they had a curfew and they were past their curfew. And he said, the only thing that I can tell you, he said, I believe you. He said, I'm just laughing over this story and how you're telling that you ran so hard up that ravine and you came out of there. And he looked at my hands. I had 0 nails on. They were lost in the cosmic unknown of this graveyard. No, my officer was not one. He was not in Mayberry. No. I couldn't have done that. No. He was a lieutenant, very good looking. And so anyway, I said, so what's the deal with this? And he said, all I can tell you is this. I always thought this story was bunk because I've heard it before. And he said, why do you think they put the crosses out here? He said, there's crosses, and it's true. There's crosses all over. And he said, we're close to the Bell Witch. We're close to those caverns. We're close to all that. And this area is just rich with all of that. And he thought, he said, I always thought it was bull. He said, until I went up there and I took the father of one of the boys up there with me because we hadn't heard from him. And he said, these boys are football players. They're big. They're high schoolers. They're football players. And he said, we pulled up and they came down crying out of that graveyard. I said, why? What happened? He goes, one of them got lost. One of them was in the woods. They were all trying to find out. And they kept seeing this guy walking around. And he said, I didn't believe it. And he said, so we kept those boys down to the car. They were drinking water. So the father looks at me and says, I don't know about you, but I got to see this for myself. And he said, so they walked up, and he said, it wasn't dark. It was going to start getting there, but it wasn't dark. He said, we walked up past on these stairs. We walked up through. And he said, all of a sudden, I feel this on my shoulder. He said, I turned around, and there the father had his mouth open, like in disbelief. There was this guy walking around, Was he moaning? And he said, I stood there. He said, what are you going to do? You can't shoot it because you don't know if it's somebody gagging you, and he said, we just watched. He said, this thing walked. I said, that's exactly what I saw. And he said, and then it would just disappear. Yes. And then it would come back. And he said, and then this raven came up. He said, that bothered me. This raven acted like it knew. And he said, I'm going to go ask the sheriff's deputy about all of this tomorrow. And I said, I would appreciate it. And I showed him the Polaroids that I took down by the ravine. And he said, well, I'm going to tell you this. He said, there were 2 girls, high school girls, that were lost about 5 years ago, that the rest of her group that she was with, they went down over that ravine. And then when the rest of them came up, those 2 girls were never found again. I said, oh my God. And he said, yeah. So he said, I'm laughing because of how you're telling the story. I'm not laughing at the story. He said, because I believe it. And he said, that Bell Witch stuff and all that stuff, he said, I never believed that. He said, but at this point, what do you do? I said, I know. It's like you can't explain it. And I said, Officer Not So said that this witch conjured him up. And he said, what do you think? And I said, well, I've been in New Orleans. And I've been close to that zombie island stuff. And I knew of a woman that was kind of the Marie Laveau type. I met her years ago when I was there in New Orleans. When I met her then, there were 5 women living together. She was the oldest, and her daughter, who happened to be 87 years old, was living with her. And then her daughter who was in her late 60s, and so on and so on. And there were like 5 generations all living together in this little hut. And they told stories about, what do you call them, zombies, that these witches would conjure up. Did you, Amy, you little dear, that you would conjure up and see, just a minute, I heard something click. Was that you, Amy Law? No. Hold on. Okay. Nothing. But I know you're going to say, okay. So anyway, that's what Officer Handsome told me. Then, so a couple of days later, he called me. We went out. I don't know what. I was always big on going for picnics. Hello, picnics. And he was always, oh, okay, Amy. Thank you, honey. He was always, oh, I get it now. Thank you. He was always on duty. So I would pack a picnic and we would go somewhere and eat. And he knew how I was. So he would take me to these, because in the state of Tennessee, you go to some of these areas and there are abandoned cabins, there's just, yeah, pick up Zelda picks up. Yes, I pick up the officers, like one, hello, right? Hello. And he would, so a couple of days later, it was Sunday. And I said, you know, I'm dying to ask you, what happened? Did you talk to Officer Not So? That's probably not so nice to call him that. He was a nice man, but you know. And he said, I did. And he said, I want you to know that he said, there's a really smart lady. He tried to do that accent, but he was not as good as me. But he said, there's a really smart lady that came out there with these dumbbells. He called those other ones dumbbells. And quite frankly, I thought the same. He said the dumbbells were out there. They didn't call the sheriff's office, and this poor woman, he said, I seen her run up the, he says, I seen her run up that ravine. She looked like a cat going up the side of a mountain. I'm so embarrassed, but boy, oh boy, you don't have to tell. When this little fella looked at me, he says, ma'am, run. Okay, I'm not arguing with you. So now I'm embarrassed. Miss Holmes, I know that Will lives in Tennessee. I'm from Tennessee. I'm going to be moving back maybe sooner than y'all think. Y'all, now I'm going to start talking like this. So Officer Handsome and I had this nice talk, and he was telling me about some of the calls that he had in this area about things that happened that were not explainable. Things that you would see, like ghost horses.
That's big there.
Soldiers. Things like that. Officer Not So. Yeah, Not So Bright. It's Officer Not So Bright and Officer Handsome. I was dating Officer Handsome at the time. Listen, Kelly, I did not have time to stand and say, I wonder if I should be wiping out the back of my pants. Baby, I cut and run. I'm not kidding. And I have a rule about that, where you don't run and you don't scream and you don't, but I broke my own rule then. I scattered up there like a cat. So he said, yeah. And I said, did Officer Barney Fife, is what I called him to my handsome, because I didn't want to say not so. I said, did Barney Fife say that he said, oh yeah, he saw it. He said he saw it. He said nobody can explain it because nobody wants to get near it. And he said that's the legend, that's the lore. And seriously, it walked just like this. And of course, then the bad jokes. I told him this is why I don't become a zombie, because there's just too much walking. Who wants to be moaning and walking that much? And then he's laughing because I think that's the one thing that he loved about me, is because I made him laugh, because it's a very stressful job. So I made him laugh. And I said, I wanted to look at him at one point and say, didn't your mother ever tell you to pick up your feet when you walk? This guy was howling. He was laughing so hard. But it's one of those things, my darlings, that it's unexplainable. And that's, again, why I've always said, if you go out with someone else, if you are a guest, make sure somebody does their homework. Now, I will tell you, this is why 98% of the time I do not go out with anyone else, because you just don't know. Ernest T. Bass, it's me, it's Ernest T. That's right. That was about right. And he's a shuffler. He shuffles around. Shuffling, right? Too much walking, too much moaning, right? Who wants to walk and moan that much? But the reality is this, my darlings, always be careful. If you see a beautiful cemetery, you're out in the country, you want to just stop, okay,
like I do.
Stay close to your car. Don't venture into the back of the cemeteries, because usually in the back of the cemeteries and in the graveyards are the oldest graves, and you don't know what anybody's done back there. Plus, you don't know what you're going to find, because in a lot of these cemeteries, what I have came up against, sometimes there's a lot of people that go back there and try to cast, and they're trying to do these ritual type things, the S rituals, which no, you don't mess with. Don't mess with them. I would like to go back and see this little fellow and see if he's back there again, but I won't risk it. When law enforcement tells you don't go, and I wonder, could it be why they didn't call law enforcement? Because they knew they weren't supposed to go? So could it be that's why? Could it be? Pardon me. I got to get rid of this on my phone here. So there you go. Meemaw Geo, Lady Zelda, you are from Ohio. I am too. Have you heard about the headless man in the cemetery? I have. I am from Ohio, where we have wash cloths, wash rags. Ohio, where if you have people that come over, you don't say, did you eat? It's Jeet. Yeah. So I was born in Ohio and moved and lived years in the state of Tennessee. Then my son and I did a little other excursions elsewhere, and I'm ready to go back. And when I go back, there's a couple of places that I'm going to be going. And my darling, Miss Nan, if you are still out there, we may be going a couple of places. 2 places that I want to go. One is in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, which is the Titanic Museum. They have a lot of reported things there, and it's I have no doubt. The other place is the Ripley's, believe it or not, in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. So that should be a lot of fun. And those are just 2 places. So we will be going through. But yes, do I believe this? I don't know what it was. I can't explain it. Do those things happen? Yes. Yes. Oh, okay. Miss Holmes is city folk. I'm from the country. But yes, my darlings, this stuff exists. And if you see it, it's like, there are times, and I thought, should I tell this story tonight? And I thought, yes, I'm going to, because you know what? Sometimes you just have to think there are things that are not explainable. There are things in this world that we cannot understand. Understand. For those of you, you know that. New Orleans, they have a lot of things. When I was there twice, and it's one of those things now you don't know. For me, that energy, you don't know if it's real or not. There's an influx of the vampire energy now that's going on. And it's not the vampire historian vampires that I like to hang out with. It's those thirsty blood vampires. So I don't mingle with that. There's I'm going to tell you what, the wannabes, Ghost Adventures. That's right, Jess. The wannabes, to me, they're sometimes more dangerous than the real thing. Because most of the real vampires stay out of sight. The one that I've got the interview scheduled with, he stays out of sight. Who we all know is not a vampire, and I did not find out, so erase this part. But we're going to stop it here because I've got a second part that I want to tell you about this. And it's I'm frozen. No, I'm not. Okay. And it's the second part that has always creeped me out. And I thought, well, I'm going to tell you. So if you want to take a little break, we've been here for an hour and a half. Take a little break, run to the water closet, get yourself a snack, get yourself a little something. And my darlings, we're going to take right back up again. Aunt BB, my darling, Lady Zelda, if you are asking for suggestions for next week, I've got one for next week. I vote for Amityville or the staircase one. Do me a favor, for those of you who have not taken a little break here for a second. Do me a favor and put a 1 in the chat if you like this, where I play my story, comment, maybe tell a little bit more about the story. Put a 1 in the chat if you like that. Amityville was nuts and so was the guy that I went with. Put a 1 if you like that, where we highlight a story. Okay, I see it. Okay. But there's a part 2 to this. And I'm going to change my background now. Yes, why? Well, because that's, you know me. You know me, and I have to add background. So we're going to go from Mr. Moan and Groan to where, no, we aren't. Where are we? Okay, let me do something here. Zelda. All right, let me see what we can do here. Got to add
this. I forgot to do it. I guess we'll have to run. There we are, my darlings. We changed backgrounds. Welcome. We are now still in the great state of Tennessee. If you know, you know, is absolutely right. Everyone, for all the pretty jewels, I don't see them because I'm on StreamYard. And I don't have enough room. I did get a brand new monitor today. It's wonderful. It's a 27-inch curved monitor. And with all the work that I'm doing, I cannot tell you. Game changer. Game changer. And so thank you. It makes life a lot easier. And for those of you who are asking when the new episodes of Lord Greggor, of, Veil Keep, and of Doria, and many other ones, thank you, my darlings, watch the Chronicles of Camellia Crosse, because I want to make sure that link is in, I want to see what it is. Give me a second. The Crosse Chronicle. I always get it backwards. Why? It's the Crosse Chronicles. The link is in the description because I am telling the story there that actually was told to me when I first associated with Lord Greggor, because I thought he was a vampire. So he was telling me stories. The story that you see on the Crosse Chronicles, he says is true. I don't know. I can't claim it. I don't know. But believe me, I'm having a wonderful time. Because if you want to see vampires and a vampire who was in love with somebody, this is it. I'm engrossed when I hear these stories. So I'm going to just bring them to you. So about every other week, we will have a new story for Lord Greggor if I can. And I'm behind a little bit because I took a couple of days off because I just didn't feel like talking. Because that's all I do. I'm a talker. So now that's given everybody a little chance to get back. So 3 days later, the last time I saw after this run, Officer Handsome called me and he said, listen, I've got some people that I went on a call for that I think you need to go out and you need to see. Okay, what's going on? He said that they are complaining. I don't know how you see this, but right here, I don't know if it's mirrored or if you're seeing a scarecrow right in there. I don't know if whichever side you're seeing a scarecrow on, said the little girl keeps saying that she sees the scarecrow move. And the mother said that it was impossible. She didn't believe it. And then one day, now, little backstory. They did not own the property and they did not own the house. They were leasing the house and the farmland was leased by the owner. So they didn't have anything to do with, the little girl. They would go out and play and all these other stuff. And I mean, it was a little girl and a little boy, but the little girl was affected. So Officer Handsome asked me, will you go out and talk to them because this woman is beside herself? Well, sure, I'll be glad to go. I go, I pull up, and the sky is looking like that, just like it did for Mr. Weirdo here, Mr. Hello, I'm a zombie and I'm going to act like one. See? So the skies were the same. In Tennessee, sometimes, and especially when you get flat farmland, now, I don't know if you can see the horizon, but that's the way it is in Tennessee. If you get into some flat farmland, you can still see the mountains, which are the Appalachian Mountain Range, but it's the Great Smoky Mountains that are there. And so they were nice. And when I go out to talk to somebody, I always take a little questionnaire with me. I always say, "Are you on any medication? Are you on anything prescribed?" I was going to say subscribed, or that too. Um, well, Pickles, my darling, he was never human born. So I don't think he has any idea of reasoning of whether he wants to be a zombie or not. Because I think he was conjured. He just didn't have a choice. Anyway, so the answer was no. Did they have any problems with mental history? No. Did they, was there any type of all of a sudden something that had happened in the family that created anxiety? Was there any problems in school? Were there anything like that? So, hold on. There wasn't. There wasn't anything. I loved their little house. If you would have walked in, this was the epitome. And this young girl, her favorite thing in the world, she wanted to be Paula Deen, only from Tennessee. And she would watch those episodes on the Food Network. Remember when Paula Deen was on Food Network? She would watch them. And when I was out there, she had Paula Deen on this. And so we sat down and I wanted to make her comfortable because you could tell that she was very nervous about me being there and telling me about this guy out here on this stick. And so anyway, she was warming up to me and she had been baking. And ma'am, she would say ice cream to her little girl, and it sounded like ass cream. And I just got so tickled because I thought, oh my gosh, here I am, another accent that I can, mock. Hello. And I always did. Or she would say, where you have a kitchen counter, and she would say, counter, a kitchen counter. She was adorable. And she was just as adorable in the kitchen. She wore a little apron. Now, I wear an apron when I cook too, but she wore this little apron and she just was adorable. So she warmed up a bit and we started talking. She said that her daughter had this front room right up here, and she, the mama, had this room here, and the little boy's room was on the other side. So the whole top floor, and this was an older house. You walked in and it creaked and moaned and groaned and everything else, but it was positive. It wasn't anything bad because I made sure. So, and this is one of the time that Zelda kind of took matters into her own hands. You'll see that in a minute. So we started out that we are here, and it's opposite now. You're going to see, but this is picture number 1. You're going to see over there the scarecrow that is there. And I told her that I would come out every day. Didn't matter what time, I would come out every day because her daughter, I mean, she was about needing to be medicated. I'm just going to tell you. She said she would go outside to play. She would hear rustling and she would look up and it would feel like the scarecrow would be closer and closer to the house. And quite frankly, the next day when I went out, the scarecrow did look like he was closer to the house. And you can see the difference. Take a look here. Now, I made sure that I made these, but it seemed like he was closer to the house. So I told the mama that I would make, I made her a little sigil and I made some protection things and we did some sage and we did some salt and we made sure that we blessed the children and we blessed everything. And the mama was feeling better. And I said, you know what? I don't think I'm going to come, tomorrow. I don't think I have to. Everything is fine. She goes, I'm just wondering if it's just not an optical illusion because maybe the owner is coming out. And, we were doing everything to try to debunk and justify what was happening and going on until the next day. She called me, almost screaming, in a panic, in a frantic, said her little girl woke up the next morning and looked out the window and she saw this. And I said, did you call Officer Bill? Officer Handsome? And she said, I haven't yet. I said, I'm going to do this. You lock your doors. You stay away from the windows. And I'm going to call Officer Handsome. And I'll be right there. When I got there, Officer Handsome had beat me there. He was closer. And believe me, I put the pedal to the metal to get there. Because remember, back then we didn't have cell phones. So it wasn't like she could have just sent me a picture. So we got there. And I saw his car was there. We walked in. The little girl was crying. He pulled me out on the porch and he goes, look, I said, you didn't go up to that thing, did you? And he said, not really close to it, but he said, I can't explain this. It's an stake in the ground. And I said, yeah. And I said, it's this time of year. We haven't had any rain. The ground is pretty hard right now. And he goes, yes, it is. He said, I can't explain it. And I said, I can't either. And he said, what are you going to do? I said, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. There's something wrong with that scarecrow, and we're going to get rid of it. But I said, I need you to be here, and I need your permission. He goes, you got my permission. You just need to do what you need to do. This family is in jeopardy, and they're scared that it's going to come close to the house. It's already too close. So just to give you an idea, that's where this guy started, was out in the field. The next day, he came close like this. And then the next day, that's where he was. Now, the sky seemed like it did not change. It did. But the sky did not change. So I went outside and I did a little something. And I told the family, I told Officer Handsome, I said, you need to stand with me, but away, because we don't know what will happen. Now, I went up there, said my prayers, did my thing, and I'm going to show you what it looked like. Now, it did not move in front of me, but I made this rendering. This is not real, but it gives you an idea of what this looked like. So this, my darlings, is what it looked like. And in the end, is what your girl, Zelda, did. So here we go. Right there. I set that bad boy right on fire. And when I did, there was black smoke come from it. And it was like, oh my gosh, it made a noise. It wasn't like the one in the cemetery, but it made a noise. So I'm going to give you the visual of what it looked like. Now, hang on. Disclaimer. This is kind of creepy, but this is what it looked like. And this is what the little girl described to the officer and myself. Ready? Here we go. Look at this. She said she saw this scarecrow coming through the field. And when it got up to the fence line, you can bet his little crack was torched by Zelda. He wasn't going to go anywhere again. Let's play that again. This is not real, but it is a interpretation of what the little girl said, that she saw him coming through the field. And when he got there, Zelda torched his crack. And that was the end of him. So at that point, Officer Handsome looked at me and he goes, I'm not so sure I'm cut out for this. And there's not too many people that are. And I said, well, nobody asked you to come here. Nobody's asking you to be a paranormal or chasing whatever it is that you're chasing. Nobody asked you. So I don't know. And he goes, no, I don't think I'm made for this life where I see these things. I said, well, I hate to say that you get used to it, but I never get used to it. Even now, if I see something and if I jump or I, get a sharp, I get a jump scare or I get a startle or something, my mom would say, or not my mom, my son, Mom, what are you doing? My son would say, Mom, Mother, why are you scared? Look at the field that you're in and you're scared. And I said, well, here's the thing. I don't get scared as much as I get startled or shocked. And I don't get startled and shocked as much as I want to say that sometimes I just think, are we even real? Are we in a bubble that something just cut loose and let things through? And sometimes I have to stop and think. I've seen a lot. And I just have to, right? A scarecrow that lets out a yell when he gets torched. And nobody knows. Nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows. Now, that poor little girl, and sometimes little girls, little boys, children will see more. That's what happened to me than really what we're supposed to see or that we think that we're supposed to see. And because it's not the normal, we try to curtail it, like that happened to me. And then it makes us question ourselves. The little girl was okay. I visited them 2 days after. She called the landlord and he came and took down the scarecrow. And I wanted to meet him, so I met him there because, it's like, oh, hi, I burned down your scarecrow, buddy. And I talked to him, and he said, "That's okay." He said, "We couldn't explain it." I said, "What do you mean, we?" And he said, "I noticed that it moved, but I thought maybe one of the kids went out, was playing with it, and tried to set it back up." So he couldn't really explain it either. No, I have a special torch for things like that. I don't care. I don't flip my Bic. Hello, I have a Bic in the car. There's I'm the weirdest thing. I have a little tool kit type stuff. Iron, fire, blessed water, blessed oil, salt, you name it, sigils. What was in the scarecrow, as far as I know, it was hay. Hay. As far as I know, it was hay. I didn't stop to ask him. So that was the part of the story. And then after that, Officer Handsome and I saw each other for, I don't know, a couple or three more times. He was busy. I was busy. I respected him a lot. He was a very good officer. But then I kind of broke it off with him because I'm thinking, gee whiz, if he has to call me and I call him out on every type somebody sees some anomaly or something ominous happen or whatever, that can really mess things up. And he obviously couldn't handle it, and I didn't want to do that to him. But I'm going to tell you, there was no future with the man anyway. He was just really nice and a lot of fun, but we never really dated. He was either always in uniform, going on duty, off duty, sitting and having pie somewhere along the way. We ate at Loretta Lynn's buffet one time, at the Bean Pot going into Nashville, Tennessee. You know what I mean? I didn't have that many boyfriends. Because I kept them all away from me. Because I would date, or if I would get married, they didn't like what I did. And they would just want to hold me back and all these things. And it just didn't work. And why put somebody through that? I don't think it's fair for anybody. So, my darlings, that is the second part of the story. He was good eye candy. He was nice. I'll tell you who he looked like. The Star Trek that had, let's see, Officer Picard, and there was the second lieutenant. What was his name? The dark hair one that was tall. He kind of favored him. Yeah. I kind of favored him. He was nice looking. Riker, Officer Riker. That's right. But I didn't, it's never with me, it's never been the looks. Never been the looks. It's always been who they are. It's not who he is, it was what. Right? So it just didn't. It's not that we didn't like each other. It was just that this thing that was starting to, like scarecrows and zombies and cemeteries and other crap that was going on, phantom horses and all these other things. I just never got attached. I would never allow myself for that reason, because this is something I could never get rid of. So that's the way it is. He was nice, but the last time I heard that he quit the force. So I think it was something that was some people just can't cut it. Some people just can't cut it. And that's the hard part. As far as the officer part, he was excellent. but he had to leave. It just wasn't his bag. And then with all the stuff that was going on with me and that he could not handle, I think, the recognition. And I didn't have much then. And I mean, I still don't, but I didn't, it was even less then because I wasn't on YouTube. There was no YouTube. I was on Psychic Lines and I did a few, and I was kind of known in the area for paranormal. Hello, this is Shaggy Noodle, bringing his noodle factory to the live stream. But what are you going to do? You can't force people to accept what it is that you do. And I wouldn't want to if I could, because it wouldn't be real. Let me see if we got everybody here. We did not. Patricia has become a member. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Patty, for 14 months. Has it been that long, my darling? Thank you so much. And my dear darling D Hunter has become a YouTube member. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's the noodle maker. It's the noodle maker. So did I feel bad that I set somebody's scarecrow ablaze? No. Listen, evil entities, you don't go around scaring kids and animals. In my book, don't scare anybody, but you leave little kids alone and you leave animals alone. Now, I got to tell you about this vampire Tule. Tule, the story goes, and again, any predictions on the World Cup? Oh, I wish I could. Oh, look at this. Aunt Bibi, my darling. Thank you, and bless each and every one of you who have received a gift membership from Aunt Bibi. And remember, 1 month from today, you'll be given that opportunity to continue, and I really hope you do. And then Paige has also gifted a membership. Thank you, my darling. It's very sweet of you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to both of you. But this Tule, we don't know where he's from. Nobody at Vale Keep knows where he's from. But no, he would be much older than Lord Greggor. That's the story. But I don't know. But I'm going to tell the story. Don't you want to hear a good vampire story? Yikes. And from all the characters, Lord Reynard, the one that was turned into a permanent wolf, and because there was a group of vampires that was at Lord Reynard's home, they would take people, young people, and not much less than what they are now these days. And Lord Reynard fell upon that, and that's what happened. So now I'm telling the story of Tule. Now, Camellia Crosse, the story goes that she was a professor in Cambridge, and she dealt in antiquities and that sort of thing. I'm just telling the story like I'm told. And this last time, the story that I've been told this last time, Tule was not a good vampire. He was not a good guy. He was like a monster. And especially in the 1700s, he was literally a monster, just grabbing people right off the streets. Like you'd be walking down the street and he would just grab somebody and boom, they'd be gone. So I'm telling that story. So here's the thing. these stories, I'm going to try to come out bi-weekly on the channels. So that way it gives me time enough so I'm not putting out a story that you go, Zelda, that was a stretch. That looked horrible. Somebody's hand was coming out of their head and it should not have looked that way. So anyway, well, my darling Yvonne, this is on another channel that I have. It's called the Crosse or the Cross Chronicles. Might as well tell it. On the tubes of you, they are really, really going after Netflix hard and hungry. They want bingeable content. They want stuff their people sit and they watch. And they want it to be done correctly. They just don't want somebody coming on here and say, well, I don't know if Jesus wore a size 10 or size 12 sandal, but he was eating his grilled cheese as he walked through the desert. Maybe that's what I don't know, but it's not what you're going to come from me. Not what you're going to come from me. So if you do want to see those channels, they are in the descriptions of True Oracle and of here. So I was commissioned, but I got to just tell you this. I'm going to tell you my goal. First of all, are you all, because we're right around Mercury retrograde starting now. And some of these cases, not now, but it's very soon. Some of these cases that we are watching, my darlings, wow. Some of the truth is going to start coming out and you're seeing it now. Let me see where, hold on a minute. Mercury retrograde begins on June 29th. So it's next Monday. We are in the shadow period and it goes until July 23rd. It's an emotionally sensitive Cancer, in the sign of Cancer. So that's why you're hearing all this stuff about the Savannah Guthrie stuff. That's why you're hearing all these things about even Jean-Benet Ramsey, Sebastian Rogers, Summer Wells. And I got to tell you, Sebastian Rogers in the great state of Tennessee, Summer Wells in the great state of Tennessee, in these areas of the Appalachian Mountains. Now, but listen, anytime you're close to any types of things like this, it just adds to where are those people now? I heard about that case out of Buckeye, Arizona, my darling, that young man missing. Poor Sebastian and poor Summer. That's absolutely right. Today, 17 years ago, we did lose Michael Jackson. We sure did. I loved his music. But as far as that, do you feel that Summer or Sebastian will ever be found? No, I don't. No. It's not impossible to charge someone. I'm not a lawyer. It's not impossible to charge someone when there's no body found. But we just have to see. This whole Savannah Guthrie, Nancy Guthrie case, I'm starting to call it Savannah Guthrie because it seems like it's all about her. Sorry, that's my opinion. And watch now for the Karen Reed case. I heard today that Michael Proctor
The proctologist, Michael Proctor, walked out of his deposition because he had an anxiety attack. He's going to do everything that there possibly is so he does not have to testify or be deposed. And he needs to be cautious. And that's not a threat. I'm just saying, look at his text and look at the environment that we live in. I would be, if I said those things and walked out in public, I would be very cautious. Do I feel that Proctor is not going to be able to come forward and do much? Yes. Don't look for him too much. At this point, he's probably going to go off his rocker. A lot more things are going to come out. And quite frankly, that's the only thing that he can do, unless he does something worse, which I don't want that to happen to anyone. So Proctor is an issue. Colin Albert is an issue. Ain't that the truth? Maybe he needs Auntie Bev to hold his hand. That is the truth. Have you checked now? We're getting into this Mercury retrograde, and I want to show you something. These are my jars. I don't open my jars. I walk by them, I pet them, I put good vibes in them. And when you do that, you'll start seeing your information come to the top if it's buried. Do you have the Rice Jar app? You can run over to the psychic shop right now and pick it up. And it will tell you the moon phases, all kinds of other things. Here's my other little rice jar. This rice jar, look at what came to top on this one. When things are about to come into fruition, your intentions will come to the top. And it's amazing because I put this down in there. So the reality is this. This is about to take off. And quite frankly, those are for my channels. And I'm going to tell you what happened yesterday. Oh, hold on a minute. Yes, her boyfriend was charged without a body. Uh-huh. See, it used to be in the old days, they never did that. And maybe somebody didn't get the memo. Because I don't know why, it just seems like, well, you want to either shut up somebody or you want to get divorced. Don't push them off boats and be done away with them. That's just ridiculous. Get divorced. My darling, you have a purpose, my darling Victory. Right? My gosh. That during those trials, it was every day. I've never seen a trial like Karen Reed's before in my life that I've ever read for. Nancy Guthrie is starting to get that way. Karen, something was happening every day. The judge was doing this, the prosecution was doing that. There was another motion, there was another this, there was another that. It's like, oh my gosh. But yeah. Well, Harold, I do talk about that. I'm sorry. I do talk about Nancy Guthrie. And it's not so much about, it's about the surroundings. It's about the behavior of those around. See, integrity and character go a long way with me. I mean, after all, think about it. I'm the woman that burned scarecrows, right? Hello. But I just think at this point, we have the aftermath of the Karen Reed trial. So we're going to talk about this. I mean, we're never going to forget Nancy. We're never going to forget JonBenet Ramsey. We're never going to forget a lot of different things.
but it's how they're treated in these cases. As far as Michael Proctor, I read about him last year and maybe a little bit the year before. And this is about time. It's about the timing. He's going to probably crack up. And that's what you're going to see. He's not going to be capable, mentally capable. That's going to be a minute. He's going to become a ward of the state, and that's it. Taxpayer money is going to have to take care of him. There could be other things that happen, but who knows? I'm not even going to go there. All right, my darlings, we've been here for 2 hours and 15 minutes. Does it seem that way? I don't think so. Let me check and see. Whoops. Thank you so much. Jessica, bless you, honey. Thank you so much for your gift. I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for your generosity. You know, I'm going to tell you something. You know what? I do this because I love it. It's an opportunity. And I've got to tell you something that I'm just excited about things. And you should be too. You should be involved in something that excites you. This excites me because part of it is you guys love to listen. And listen, you egg me on, and that's why you get this stuff, right? So hello, I'm going to show you and tell you. But I know you remember me telling that about a month ago now, 6 weeks ago maybe, there was an opportunity for me. And I think they thought, oh, there's Zelda, this old bag. She's not going to be able to do this stuff. Well, they gave me this free trial to this, this application studio. And I said, okay. And they're like, and I'm like, oh, no, you just don't even know me. Get hello, pave the way. It's like the Red Sea. I'm going to be coming through, and I'm going to do all my research and everything. You've been seeing the movie that's been coming out on Vale Haven. And you're going to see this one coming out on the Crosse Files. And I'm starting to do voiceovers on that little anime channel. And there's a lot of things going on. Well, I met one of the people, I think it's day before yesterday now. I don't even know when my days are, but day before yesterday, I met one of the people that was a part of that. And because I went on there and I said, oh my gosh, I admire your channel. I admire your work. And I just think that this is wonderful. And I wish there was a way that I could take my content, my ability, and just take it up to the next level. And they contacted me and said, okay. So here's the thing. Day before yesterday, this young man who probably thinks that he's got some rickety old grandmother, that will never happen. Thank you, Colleen. So rickety grandma. And he said, oh my gosh. He said, oh my gosh. You've done that without, and I said, no, I'm self-taught. I have an entertainment background, pretty much, and that's about it. And he said, we're in the shadow part of Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograde is on Monday. And he said, well, we're about ready to take you to the next level. So they're really helping me really expand this. And that's why it takes a little while between episodes, because for me, it's a hunt and peck, pretty much. I haven't had that formal education, but who am I to let that stop me? I'm not. Certainly. And you shouldn't either, no matter what you want to do. Well, this young man is from the UK. And he told, yeah, the hot cheetah girl. He told me that when he first started, he wanted to do this so much that not long ago, he bought a church, an old chapel, and he converted it to his studio. And that's where he and his team work out of. And I'm thinking, hold the phone. Is that not the coolest thing to have? Hello, rice jar, rice app. Let's go. Let's go. And since I've met him and talked to him, I now have Vale Haven Productions. The ISBN numbers have been ordered for the books. Things are going. Well, first of all, if you got so much going on that you've got so much going on, you're going to have to sit down and take a list, because that was me. I was scattered, professionally scattered, doing this and doing this and doing this and doing this and doing this. And you first have to sit down. I had to sit down and write out a priority. And another thing that helped me, you have to read. I know people say, but Zelda, I don't like to read. Okay, good. Get an audiobook. You can listen, but I read, because guess what? I annotate. I mark through those books. Listen, nobody wants to borrow my books because I'm annotating all the time. Look at this. Blah, 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 blah. And when you, and I'll tell you what, this is an inspiration. I met this woman. I didn't even know who she was at the time. I was a dingbat. She never had any background in advertising whatsoever. You know what she did? She went to college to be a method actor. And you know what? When you look at all of her ads, she put these ads together that were in the 70s. Do you remember all those? Remember all those great ads that we had, those commercials that we would sing along to, that we still remember? I can't believe that I was dense, but I was young. And it was like, oh God, it's a day that I can get out of things. I can go to Columbus, because there was a Chinese restaurant in Columbus that I loved, and I wanted to go there and eat more sugai. That's what I did. But if you are you have to stretch yourself. And don't think that there's some nights that I don't go and I sit in bed and I think, what am I doing? Right? I should be retiring. Retiring to what is my thing? Retiring to what? I'm not going to sit around and have too much time on my hands that I get in my head, I get into my feelings. And I'm going to give you an example, and it's not funny, but it's funny. But it's not funny. Oh, you hear my son laughing. He thinks so. Because you know how I do this. Because listen, I grew up in a German-Italian family, and if we weren't cooking, they were cussing. If they weren't cooking, it was something else. And some of these guys, would walk around and say, your mother. Or they would say a lot worse, like, your mother's. And of course, I can't go that far, and I wouldn't. But it's still funny. Someone came on my channel in the chat the other day and said, Zelda, I used to love your channel, but I don't love it anymore, because the way you say mother triggered me. Sorry, that shaggy noodle makes my nose.
And I said, trigger you? She goes, yeah, I have to leave because I never had a relationship with my mother. And that just triggered me. And I just couldn't handle it. Now, I felt bad for her for that. But she said, I have to leave you because you're making too much light of this. And I said, you do realize that if you allow yourself to get triggered over something like that, you're never going to be not triggered. You do realize that, don't you? And she's like, well, you don't have to worry about it anymore because I'm going to leave. For those people who constantly feel that they either need a platform to announce what they're going to do or they need to becoming a victim, please move elsewhere. Don't come here. We are not victims. We are victors. We do not need a platform to bellyache, whine, and moan. And it's been a constant. I don't know what it is. People get in there and listen, I don't have time to get in my head. Have I had problems in the past? Oh, my darlings. Listen, I told my son the other day, you know what I want on my tombstone? There lies Zelda. She was a good cow. Seriously, make someone laugh. I told him, I said, you know what? I want you to put on my tombstone where it says, here lies Lady Zelda. Here lies Lady Zelda of Valehaven. Because if people ever find my tombstone, they're going to be saying, oh. And I'll be laughing no matter where I am. That's how, here lies Zelda. She was a good cow. Because why not? Right? I mean, and believe me, there's some times that I sit here and I think, what am I doing? I have all this equipment. I'm going to take a picture one of these days and you guys are going to see my studio. Microphones, keyboards, monitors, laptops, different iPads, this, that, a P-pad. No. All kinds of things. And there's more coming. Because you know what? If I'm going to do a good job, I need the equipment. You can't expect to sit here and do a good job and you don't have whatever it takes to do it. And here's my thing. I've always been this way because my family, my dad, my stepdad, was convinced that he couldn't afford college, didn't want us to get scholarships or anything else. And when I knew that and when I saw the pain that my sister went through because of it, I didn't give a crap. I didn't give a crap about high school. Why did I care? I wasn't going to go to college. I already knew it. I played sports. I had a blast and that was it. And when I got enough age, I moved on and that's the way it is. Should I have done that? No. But at that particular time, it just felt necessary for me to, I was training to be an opera singer starting when I was in the 7th grade, 6th grade, actually. And when I figured out that my stepdad would not allow me to go on the Merv Griffin show, said that I would end up like Frank Sinatra and have to take my clothes off somewhere or another. Those poor people. That ended that. So one day I just kind of drifted on. And I've not looked back. And that's the way I needed to do it. So at this point, I want to encourage you. If there is something that you want to do and it's in your heart, don't allow the idea that you may not know how to do it, because there's always a way. If you're supposed to do something, there's always a way. God will provide. All you have to do is make the way Put the intention in. Be thankful. Be grateful. And the way will come. So I'm serious. I'm serious. People will allow the money to stop them. Well, I don't have the money to become this or that. Well, you don't need the money. When you do what you love, the money or the opportunity will follow. See, people think, oh, hello. How are you? People think that, okay, thank you. This is Paranormal Petey. Petey Pink Nose. Look at him looking at the scarecrow. But people think that an opportunity, it just will, you don't want to look for excuses not to do what it is that you love. If you want to be a writer, get yourself a pen and paper and sit down. That's what the author of Harry Potter did. Broke, eviction, young kid, couldn't eat. And she wrote Harry Potter. If she can write Harry Potter, just think what you can do. Right? And that's the way how I think of it. My son used to, listen, this cracked me up last week because sometimes my son's friends will come in here and I heard him. It was kind of funny. But he walked through here and he was grinning. You know how, and my son sometimes thinks that he's my dad these days. I tell him that, but that's okay. You know, mom's gone wild type thing. Hello. He walks through here and he's smirking. And I'm like, wait, what is this? And he said, if you would have asked me, I heard him telling his girlfriend, if you would have asked me if I would stand here and watch my mom, my mother, put up the lights and prepare for a live stream and do all the research that she does and spend a couple of days getting all the visuals done and doing all this other stuff and hello, cats, whatever. He said, I would never have believed you. He said, and my mom is in front of the camera in front of not hundreds, but thousands of people. And that's true, my darling, because we've reached double digits, thousands of people that watch us. I did not sit here and say, oh, I want to be well known and I want to be in thousands of people. And no, this is for my own accomplishment. And by making everybody here happy and coming together after we have these hard days and weeks of all of these crime scenes and all this other stuff, if we can sit here and laugh and I can encourage each other, it's worth it. It's worth it. Because like I've always said, hey, I'll take a burning scarecrow any day over a proctor. But I want to tell each and every one of you now, you go for it. You do your videos. You write the books. You cook. You do the recipes. Who knows? This young girl she could be the next Paula Deen that was coming out. Who knows? Hold on a minute. What am I saying? Carrie Cullerson, 80s, convicted without a bond. Yeah, see? And the hot dog man. Make your rice jars. Pray. Set your intentions. And you watch your intentions come to the top of the jar. You know they're getting ready to come to fruition. I have 2 jars going. I'm ready to make a 3. And when I get ready, I'm going to say this, when I get ready to move to my Veil Haven, which will happen maybe sooner than what we think, I'm going to let you all know. When you start opening doors and you start becoming a manifestation magnet, you're going to see what happens. It's not just one thing. When you start vibing, when you start vibing on that frequency, you know what? I can do this. I can do that. I can accomplish this. It doesn't matter how old I am, because how old am I going to be if I don't do it? So it doesn't matter this. And you know what's so funny? This young man that I met that's got, I mean, he's wonderful, that he bought this church and he renovated it. How cool is that? It's the Enya thing. Enya bought this old Irish castle. She never got married. She's got 12 cats. Hello, I love her already. And she writes music. You can do it. You can do it. If you're watching this today and you're thinking, oh God, my family thinks I'm a nutbag, well, first of all, here's the first rule. You have your goal and you do not tell anybody what you want to do. Because you know why? Because they can't see your vision. Then it's going to, how are you going to do that? Oh boy, I've had that before. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Family can be your absolute worst enemy. Yes, you heard it from me. Can be. How are you going to do that? Why would you want to do that? Don't you have to have money? I thought you had money. Oh, wow. And yet when anybody needs anything, you watch them all come to you, because that's what happened here. And when I started saying no, it was like the Third World War. So I'm just going to tell you, when you leave here tonight, you know that here, this community, we've got your back, no matter who you are. Well, Kismet, I'm just going to tell you, I know it's so unfortunate, because you love family and you love friends. And you know what? Here's what you do. You just don't say anything. The moment that you try not to convince anybody and you don't say anything and you don't show anybody what you're doing, you got to be an actress or an actor. That's the only way you're going to get through it. I had to be an actress for years, because I had things that bothered me about family. Oh my gosh, they think I'm a screwball. I'm out here doing what? Well, guess what? I've always made more money than my sister. I've always made more money than my brother-in-law. And it's not about money, because when you do what you love, listen, when you're on that vibe, when you're on that here, and you start vibing, I'm going to give you a warning. This is what you have to be careful about. It's not getting the opportunity. It's getting too much. And that's what started happening to me about 2 months ago. All this coming in, I was attracting, Zelda, will you please represent our bracelets? Zelda, would you please do this? Here, I want to collab with you with this. I want to do this. I want you to do this. Will you do this? Will you do that? Whoa. And you have to just get yourself in that place where you can say, listen, I'm on my own little planet. I don't allow the economy to bother me, because I create my own economy. That's your mindset. That's your mindset. You can never say anything to anybody. Nothing. You go about your business. You work. And then one day when that door opens, you go through it and you never look back. For me, the best thing, it wasn't picking the knives out of my back, that's for sure. It was knowing that when I did make it and continue to make it, that those people are like, oh, how'd she do that? I put myself through college. I went to university when I was 50 years old. I didn't have to because I had a lot of education before that. I have my doctorate in metaphysical sciences. I did all the things and I'm still doing it. Don't let anybody tell you that you cannot. Well, you can't talk to them. You can't talk to you, and it's the thing of it is, you have to just know that these people are not going to live your life. They're not going to come to your rescue. Everybody always has an opinion, and you know what they say about opinions. They can talk you into things and talk you into out of things, and yet when they go home at night and they go to bed, you are definitely not the last thought that they go to sleep. And yet they plant enough seed in your head that when you're laying there at 3:15 in the morning thinking, oh my God, I should have done this. Oh my God, I should have done that. Why didn't I do that? I made this big mistake. Why didn't I say this? They're snoozing it up, having a good rest, getting up the next morning, patting themselves on the back for messing your life up and thinking that they did good for you. That has always cracked me up. You have to put yourself, and it's not a sin to put yourself ahead. It's actually biblical. You have to take care of yourself first, because if you don't, how are you going to take care of anybody else? You have to make sure that everything, all your little ducks are in a row. And you're going to have to make sure that at the end of the day, when you go to bed, you can sit there and watch the documentaries about Jesus eating a grilled cheese sandwich if you want to. It doesn't make any difference because you are in a good space, right? And you are preparing for this brand new life. And you know what? Sometimes it does take years. It's a couple of things that took me years. But I look at it this way. Sometimes we're not ready for things. Or sometimes, listen, it's not all about you and it's not all about me sometimes. Sometimes when we put our order into the universe says, okay, there, look, there's Zelda. She wants this and this and this. But what do we have to do to get it to her? Well, they're not going to knock everybody down and push everybody to the side. Maybe they have to create an opportunity for these people over here so they leave their situation or their circumstance, so that way it opens a door for you. That's the perfect world to be in. That's when you have to say, well, I've got a client right now, and if you're watching, you know I'll beat you up if you call me tomorrow and say, verbally, hello. I'm not that way, but you know I'm kidding. Who will call me up? Oh, I'm feeling great, Zelda. I'm feeling great. I'm manifesting. I'm doing all these things. And the most hilarious part about this is that I'm fine. I'm fine. There's a man that I want, but I'm fine. I'm fine. 2 days later, you know what? I didn't want that so-and-so anyway. Now, wait a minute. You just put your order into the universe. I know, but it doesn't feel like he's coming. Is he in a circumstance that he can't get out of? Well, yeah. Is he scared that you're going to break up with him like you did before? Well, yeah, I can see that. Well, maybe you got to give him time to heal. I don't want to. Okay. Have a nice, happy, miserable life. That's how you got to think about things. I got to tell you this. I've gotten so strong that sometimes I scare myself. Seriously. Sometimes I scare myself on this manifestation thing. And sometimes it's big things. Like you think, oh, I did that. Oh, I did that. So, with you being here and you watching my channels and watching my content, I want you to know that you are a part of this and a part of my world, and you're a part of making my blessing come through. And if I can encourage you to do the same, whatever it is that you want to do, it could be out hooving cows, it could be out planting fields, it could be the next Paula Deen, it could be wherever you want to be. Because all I can say is, what's stopping you? Don't allow the money. My darling, be well, honey, and you get some good night's rest. We're getting ready to close down anyway. 'Cause, I get on my pulpit and I have to talk. I'm a talker. Saturday night, come here. We're going to be talking about the crime things we're going to be doing. I got to climb back around that house. And for those of you who ask the question, why didn't I ever go to Arizona? Does this answer your question now? That Savannah is all over the internet? I called the police on the YouTubers. Does it not matter to you, madam, that those YouTubers were out looking for your mama? When you possibly have family within a 4-mile radius that could be possibly doing things like maybe just come up and give a bottle of water to these people? Anyway. Oh, here we go. When I was 52, our plant shut down and they paid us to go to college. I was scared half to death. I know the feeling. And I was so afraid that I couldn't do it. I graduated 2.5 years later with an associate's degree. Well, hold on a minute. I got something for you. Hold on. Where is that now? Hold on. Got something for you. Don't tell me they took it away. Did they take it away? I think they did. The clapping sounds. Well, here. There we go. There we go. Bravo to you, my darling. Bravo. Oh, here it is. Here it is. We could do it again. I decided to go back to school when I was 50 because I wanted to learn the business side of the music industry. And when I went, I decided I don't like that. I took all my math course at once. Don't tell me how many times I cried to my professor, just pass me, I don't care what you do, give me. And then I went on to study the human mind, the psychic, the parapsychology of the psychic, meaning when somebody says that the devil made me do it, could there be some truth in that? And then when the American, I believe, I'm not saying it correctly, so forgive me, but when the American, I think, whatever that, I don't know what they call it. It's some psychology standards. When they put obsession into diagnoses, that started opening my eyes. Because I always thought some things about Nick Reiner. Oh, I'm far from Pierce. Fierce or Pierce? I don't know. What would I say publicly if somebody kidnapped my mom? They couldn't broadcast. I would go ransom the movie on them. Listen, you think that I messed up my nails crawling up a ravine to get away from this zombie guy? I wouldn't be able to have my nails on because I would be tilling and scratching the earth looking for my mother. If I had the money, I would hire a company, a private company, and I know them. I know who they are, to go and start dragging the Colorado river. I would I would hire cadaver dogs. I would do all that. I would do all that. And quite frankly, I'm just going to tell you this. I believe childbirth is better when you're a little older. I believe education comes when you're a little older. Not that we couldn't do it, but listen, sometimes we're scattered. We have other important things that we need to take care of when we women are younger. I did. I didn't really know what I wanted. I was a better mother when I was an older mother. There was a lot. I think so. Don't ask my son though. Anyway, my darlings. Yeah, if I had the do re mi hello, forget about this. I'd be hooking up with one of these really good fed people and saying, look, tell me what I can do, tell me what I can't do. Where's my civil rights attorney? Tell me what I can do, tell me what I can't do. Tell me where I can go. I'm not going to go on anybody else's property and dig. I want to go here. I want to go there. I'm going to look in the parks. I'm going to look here. Somebody out looking for my mother, I'm going to stop and I'm going to say thank you to them. It's hot. Do you need a bottle of water? Maybe I can order you some food. Maybe. I don't see where they did anything. They're there to keep Nancy. And I got to tell you, I think they fouled up. They think they fouled up when they listen. If somebody went on I don't know, I'm not a lawyer. If somebody went on the big fake news media and was kind of, oh, it was me that called. Well, nobody is sitting here clapping their hands because you did that. I'm sorry. Snark. Nobody's sitting here saying bravo to you because you called the police on somebody who's trying to find your mom. We all make mistakes. But it's hard for me to like, hello, calm down there, girl. I would be calling my lawyer. I'm serious. I would be calling my lawyer. Civil rights attorney will start first. International attorney second. Maybe a Fed attorney somewhere along the line. I wouldn't stop. I don't know how legal or illegal that is. Everybody has a right to file a police report or do whatever else, but I can just tell you this. If I was sitting on this road, if somebody was sitting on the road in front of my family's home, broadcasting about who took my mother out of her home, why, what time, and let's fill in that 56-minute gap, please. I wouldn't sit here and be so bloody snark and say, and the neighbors? So anyway, my darlings, we are at the end of the week and we are preparing now for Mercury retrograde. You wait and you watch for things to start coming out. I can't wait for that. And you know me, I'm going to find some more things to report on, to read on, and everything else in between. And I can't tell you how much I love you guys and that I love to have you here. And I just love it that you put up with my stories that I just think are so amazing and so wonderful, because to me they are. But run, everyone. And I suppose I'm going to see you again Saturday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. That's New York time, my darlings. I love that everybody is here. So I want you to do me a favor. Be well, be wonderful, brush your teeth. You never know when the feds might show up. And you all have a wonderful evening and be well. And thanks so much for being here. I appreciate it. Thank you to my beautiful mods. You're awesome. And thank you so much to True Oracle for also hosting this. You be well, and I'll see you again very soon. Say goodnight, everyone. Good night.
garage essentially. Essentially.
And so, the lantern fades, but the shadows remain. This story may end here, or perhaps it's only just begun. See you soon.